Every once in a while you come across a very special book, a book with an artistry of its own. Recently in my comments section for A Canticle for Leibowitz, one of the posters recommended this book to me. Instead of trying to say the name, I'll just put it down here to credit that person. The book, Riddley Walker by Russell Hoban, 1980. The story is set in a post-apocalyptic world. We follow a 12-year-old boy, Riddley Walker, after the death of his father. Riddley is finding his way within this world. This is Britain, thousands of years after an apocalypse. What makes this novel fascinating is not so much the plot as the language. In the book, Riddley Walker is writing down his thoughts and stories. This is a post-literate society, so the English has evolved into a very phonetic spelling, and language has changed. The entire book is written in this post-literate phonetic language. This forces the reader to slow down and interpret. This book took me at least 3, maybe 4 times as long as I normally would spend on a 220-page book. But that was part of the charm of this book, entering into Riddley's world at a slower pace, learning about the culture through the language. But even though this is the language of a 12-year-old boy in a post-apocalyptic society, the language can convey beauty. I'm going to read a quote from Riddley Walker, and I'll put the words on the screen so you can see as it is written. The world is full of things waiting to happen. That's the meat and bone of it right there. You might think you can just go here and there doing nothing, happening nothing. You can't though, you bleeding can't. You put yourself on any road and something will show itself to you. Wanting to happen, waiting to happen. You might say, I don't want to know. But once it shows itself to you, you will know, won't you? You can't not know no more. There it is and working in you. You might try to put a farness between you and it, only you can't because you're carrying it inside you. The waiting to happen ain't out there where it been no more. It's inside you. Russell Hoban spent over 5 years writing this novel. At one point it was almost over 500 pages. But he would keep rewriting the language, coming up with rules, such as anytime there was a number, it would be written as a number. So the word once would be the number 1 with CE on the end. Sometimes words would be broken apart. For example, the word between would be 2 separate words, be and tween. He worked hard with the language and made it very concise and spare. So 500 pages became 220 pages. The novel does provide clues to what has happened in this world. I don't want to say too much about Riddley Walker's story. There are amazing scenes and interesting characters, including a pack of dogs that attaches itself to Riddley. At first, in reading this novel, I was struggling to understand it. Places and legends within Britain are mixed into this text. I came across a website called Riddley Walker Annotations and found it extremely helpful. I would read a chapter and then go to the annotations page. It would have a summary of the chapter and it would explain some of the language, places, and legends. If you're reading Riddley Walker, I would recommend this website to you. I'll put a link in the description. Riddley Walker is a difficult novel to read. Once you start reading it, it does pick up pace a little bit as you become familiar with the language structure. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I'm not sure it's something I would reread very soon, but it was an amazing reading experience. So if you want to try something challenging but rewarding, only 220 pages, give Riddley Walker a try. What are some challenging SF books that you've read that you would recommend? Have you read Riddley Walker? Would the language of this book prevent you from reading it? Please comment below. Until next time, keep reading.